Beep, boing. Babadi doo 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 doo. Let me get a. Let me get a. So I don't want to show that now. Boop boop boo. How do you? How do you set this up?
I heard that, yes.
Should be okay. Okay.
To try. yourself. Me on your list of names. Yourself all spurs. Don't look up. Say what it was. God's love burn my love away.
Boop, boop. Okay. Ooh, first stream back, getting everything set up. Pretty good.
Help me up, I can see from here.
Dweepy.
Clear that you know what's up. Look away for my axe come. Not the only one. My face. Hang on your heart till my dying day.
Yes, the phosphorus is falling. What a song.
Bright enough to make day from night. Shines with the light. Oh, you better not look up. Bright enough to find you upward. Hoping we might. Oh, hey. Trouble
Nice. Let's pull some stuff in that. Don't need this anymore. Should be okay. It's a little loud now. Something like that should be good. Bam! Alright, we got it set up, right? Make sure everything's in there. That's the thing. Looks like it. That one failed. Let's go. Gamer's gonna warp the stream. Oh, it's been a long time. Long time since the stream. I don't usually try this, but I could see it being pretty good. I'm gonna try it. If you don't know this game, this is Guildrun. It's been very popular lately. It's just a demo for now, but it's actually quite a nice little game with pretty short runs. So we're gonna do like 3 to 5 of these, and then we'll start talking about Chainsaw Man. Bringing it all the way back. We get to buy this. We buy this guy. We can buy this. We can buy this and that. Boom. We are set up. Items cost 2. Just give me 7 shards. Give me the money. Guildrun, you have a team of guys. It's an auto battler. They fight. You position them. It is pretty much a lot like Team Fight Tactics, if you want to think of it that way. But in roguelike auto battler form. This is the hardest difficulty, where you have this thing, the Rift Seal, that basically nerfs one of your guys. And you have to pass it around between different units, classes. You have to get through 9 combats with this nerf item equipped, and then it will get destroyed. And that is one of these quests that you have to do to succeed in this hardest difficulty. And it's, I would call it too hard, but it's also a demo, so. So here, you want this guy to go back up, and then we can move him off. He's not very good. This is a thing in my experience. So what we could do is we could go like this. Grab this guy. And then have probably this guy nerfed. I think he's a little better. Free item. Items sell for 3, so if you have a item on sale, they're free. We could get this if we want. Or we could keep this guy. Being as strong as we can early, we kind of have to, right? Because we don't have our emergency rewind, which is a revive. We sacrifice that. Relics items in the future. Just give me something now. Greedy Shiv. It can be insane on this guy. This kind of goes crazy. What if we just run all vanguards? Screw this dude. Make this guy run around and punch everything. I'm down. Why not? For this, you just want to rush down. You just want to focus fire. Basically from right to left. Smack the heck out of these guys. Boom! This guy is very good. Come on, take him. This is actually really good on this guy. I think this is a good item. Let's go to our challenge. I think that item we want to put this guy in. Put this on him. Have our shitty guy back here. Or is it like, no. No, this is better. We're gonna die. We're kind of dying. Number one, the facial hair looks sharp, brother. Please don't cut it off with a chainsaw. Hell no, I will not. Greetings, Doofy. Greetings, greetings. I assume you came from YouTube. We lost, bro. Okay. Don't sack your reset. Lesson learned. Yeah, it's not really worth it, right? We tried. We try and we learn. I like Tilly. Tilly is fun. Let's play Tilly. Man, this difficulty is so brutal. I think I've won twice. It's like, it's so bad. It's so hard. YouTube indeed. Well, hello, hello. One of the 100 plus subscribers on this channel. You find me on Blue Sky sometimes. I know you do. I see you around. I see you around the internet. Wait a minute. Camera scuffed, of course. Come on, bro. This thing not cooperating. There we are. Yeah. I'm excited for tonight, though. I figured out what Chainsaw Man is about. You know what I mean? I got it. That took a bit, and it wasn't, you know, I mean, it's not anything crazy in the end of the day. But we're gonna see if we can warm it up a little bit. Get other social media friends to hop in at some point. Which of these? They're both pretty good. Let's get some shielding. This is like okay. How you been, Doofy? What you been up to? Played like a fiddle. So I want this. Come on here first. Man, this was a fucking good one, bro. Ooh, synergy. Synergy. Synergized. Hell yeah, brother. Accountant. Rural accountant. You can't be a professional philosopher anymore. That's true. They made that shit illegal in the 80s. Stall. Is this item good? Surely it's good. We have no rush anymore, right? We could have rush. Should we have rush? It's kind of good on Tilly. You don't need to overinvest. Yeah. we're keeping our options open. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. You love to see it. You love to see the homies thriving. Special item? I like special items. Not bad. Okay. We should have been Rush. But we're still gonna keep that guy. Because the synergy is actually broken. If you put it together. So we will be looking for that. We will be looking for that. One. Count it, one. Questing. Biannual. Well, it's going to be more often, though. I was just thinking, man, I have this streaming setup. I should get some in there for funds. Ooh, big, huge. Huge. Sounds okay. Okay, that's pretty big. Is there a stall here? Magic or Uma Musume? I'm done with both of those games, man. You hate to see it. You hate to see the fall off, but it is what it is. On both fronts. I actually crashed out about the Magic Star Trek set. 11, 20. Don't you know, bro? It's Deadlock now. Deadlock is the future of gaming. Lamau. I just want this and that. We want these, right? That's the answer. Challenge encounter. We might die here. But this time, we can try again. I think I'm gonna put it here this time. Tilly needs to do some damage. And we need to split our units a bit. Something like that. Go, Tilly, go! Yes. Yeah, we are dead. Go! Alright. Final shot. Oh, big. Insane. Huge. We won. We actually won. That's so funny. Where do we want this? Well, now we want it there, right? That. AQ Worlds. What is AQ Worlds? Explain yourself. That is also really good. Alright. Tilly, it was nice knowing you. Is this a better Mystic than this? AQ Worlds. Google. It's Google time. Adventure Quest. Holy shit. I forgot that exists, bro. You're a sick individual. I'm gonna talk about that nasty shit. I'm kidding. Adventure Quest still going, huh? Hey, no. Bow, 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 bow. The music tonight is provided by me, so that I can just play it as much as I want. I don't know, it's probably fun, or something. Okay, so we lived there. I kind of want to buy this thing here. This guy should really pop off hardcore here. I am gonna run this on him one time though. It's extremely good and you want to hear more. You're lucky because there's like another... I don't know. 20 minutes? This is me and my friend. I think he posted a video on here of one of our sessions. Tankman sessions. More money. Whatever, man. If he dies, he dies. Nope. He fucking kills everybody. Yes. Yes. Alright, so here's the synergy. He gains 100% bonus shields of all types. And then when he gains a shield, he gains attack. And the extra shield scaling scales up his attack. So the getting a shield makes his attack higher, and making the attack higher makes you get more shields. So if you keep putting a bunch of shields on the guy, then his attack goes really high, and then the shields go really high, and then he has like 10,000, 20,000 shields. Pretty normal result there. I wish that was a backup for warriors. This is huge. This is insane. Let's go ahead and double the shielding. That sounds like something we want to do. Attack scaling. See, now we don't need to put this on him. She's not really doing anything, huh? Common sense. Oh, 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 good. Bye, blue sky. Alright, we're gonna recharge our revive, because it's very likely to just get owned here, but this is a really broken setup, so we might just get through it fine. We do need to put someone in front of him. We will sacrifice her. Go! Yes, I was talking about the music. The effects and stuff you hear are a Euro rack, you know, like an ambient setup with like all the effects, the modular synth stuff, right? Oh, huge, insane. Does she have the shield? Oh my god, she's got the fucking shield, dude. That is disgusting. This might be a live one. This might be a live one. Oh. I don't think either of these would be good. Apply 1,000 shields. More shields. Okay. I think we'll go the fastest on him. And also we probably want to put it on him too. Mana regen. That's fine. Is this a backup? Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah. Scalable backup. That's crazy. So Units have backup abilities. If they're on the bench, they can still contribute. And these scale. Scaling passives, man. It's kind of nice. We're not going to scale it yet. What is this? What is this? That's broken, huh? Because it damages. You get the bonus damage off the shield. The warrior is doing the damage. You get. Okay, it's. It's insane, actually. And then 25% more attack for the guy. I do think so. Yeah, that's pretty gross. That's pretty gross, man. We are cooking. We have 3 more hero deaths. This is the hardest part of the whole thing, is the death limit. I think they should probably remove it, but it's also a demo, so let's just fucking fully sack her. Who cares? What? Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, see, look at this. Look at that. That's nasty, bro. That is disgusting. Ooh, I really want to level up a Grace. Vanguard stuff. I think I kind of want to just grab the key fragment here. Let's kill a turtle. I think we can do big turtle. If we combo on this guy, right? Oh, we need a tank or Vanguard. Oh, we still have some time. But we need to pick one of those up. We're gonna run it back. For all the fans. Oh, yeah. We lost! Damn, we could not kill the turtle. We couldn't here kill the turtle. This thing is going on here. I think we can win this though. Kind of need to do like that. I think. Go off. Yes. We could use another tank. Oh, instead of her. Both of them are kind of like pretty good though. But we have to have it, right? So let's play this guy for a second. Have him help us out. That. Take a look. That's pretty good. I don't think so though. Here, we already did a challenge. So let's go here. Let's go ahead and split our tanks. Mage in the middle. Live. Live, you fucker. Death limit is okay. Oh god. Oh. Come on. Boom. Bam. Goodbye. Incredible. Boom. Oh shit. Oh shit. Some shields. I really don't want to. I think we're not gonna do that. Bam. Some items. Warrior relic. Warrior crits. Probably not happening. That seems actually completely broken as well. Here we are kind of cooking, folks. No, we still have to spread out. Spread them! Boom! That guy's gonna die. Oh no! Fuck. The limit is not broken though. That is awkward, but I think I do take it. A backup, yeah. That is really helpful. Actually, I want to do it like that. Oh yeah. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, okay, okay. Four more combined classes. It will work. It's not really worth it to do though. It's not really worth it to do. Please win. If we win this, that's the last for our seal. If we lose this, the game's over. If any of our units die, we lose. Looks like we're winning. We're winning! Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. More of these for this guy? I do like that. Really want to upgrade this guy. Or her. Show me her. Oh, come on, bro. This is actually gross, right? Yeah. One of these. This thing. Two epic items on the guy. Mystic. Hell yeah. Big. I've been thanking you there. You there. Bam! Don't die. Don't die. Live. Ho 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 ho. Oh ho ho ho. We got a roll down here, right? This guy doesn't matter. Good backups. Backup. Thanks. Nah. Too late for that. What? Alright. This do or die. This is all or nothing. So This did not come together. And this is pretty good. I think we just do this. Something like that. It doesn't have the active, so actually we don't want that. Rank up our B ranks. Oh, we have to skip, right? Yeah, skip. Okay. Well, I hope no one dies. And if someone does, we lost. Uh-oh. Hold on. Wait. The shields? No. Live. Live, you fucker. Yes! That's a fucking dub. That's a fucking dub, folks. Woo! Last round, Nicholas. Broken item. Broken unit. Look at him go. That was a good one. That was a good one. 1. We got the 1 streak. Let's just run it back. Easy. This is like the best one. This is also pretty good. Omnivamp is like really good. I think this guy is the best starting unit. She's probably the best unit and with a good bonus. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. That is a very good starting thing, but I just don't think you can do that. I like this. So it gives us all of the classes as well. Some shards, some money. Like, the Rift mode is pretty fun, but I will say it's a bit you don't have a whole lot of options. You kind of just gotta get lucky, which is fine for like a roguelike endgame, you know? That is completely fine for it to be like that. Especially for a demo, right? If they want to make it a little bit artificially hard, just to keep people engaged on literally free. I'm fine with that. I like to start. Oh, God. Oh, bye. Here we go. Boom. Oh, goodness. That is pretty good. Special items. Right, the way it works, you kind of just have to be oldie. You just have to be a bit, you know, it's just, you just go as hard as you can. And there's nothing really more to it. But, you know, there's a lot of skill in like understanding how to do that and learning all the different units and knowing what kind of synergies to look for. But that being said, you know, in the end, it's gonna be, you know, just hit. Just hit instead of miss, you know. Just get what you need. Just draw the right cards. Believe in the heart of the cards. Two deaths, huh? That's there. I think we do have to take this off now. Which of these do we want to spec on? Stall triggers that guy, right? Then you get the map. And we have to take on the challenge here, which is kind of a problem because we're not doing that good, I'd say. But we'll be alright. This is pretty big. That's actually really big. Our damage is just so bad. It's just so horrible. We have no damage, man. Not gonna work. Oh! 3 5s? No. Big. Big, big, big. This one is so good. It is actually insane how good that is. I think we want to do this. Which is a little better. I want to do this. Not really. Maybe it's like this. That was a mistake. Would I rather have him or her? That's a good, really good unit though. There we go. The damage is so bad, man. I don't know. We might just be dead. Right here. Where was the damage? Oh. Oh. Clutch. Insane clutch. Huge. I actually wanted her. Can I get both? 50? No way, alright. 31. I get 40? I guess we take cheaper then. That is actually kind of insane on this unit. Go assassin. Certainly endurance. See if we can't get 10 shards here. 10 gold coins for me. Why does it do no damage? Oh, you want? Oh, because it's survival. Okay, yeah. Duh. We lost. That was a misposition. Failed mission. I don't think so though, right? Because we want to get the bonus at least. From fighting the boss. Caresses falling. I don't think we win though. I'm pretty sure we're just dead completely. Yeah. Where's the damage? We did not really get any. New run. Max streak of 1 still. It's so hard to get a streak on. One more. One more run. And then we're doing Chainsaw Man. I'll try an interest game. I think this is just too bad. Or is this our reroll? These are not good. Let's reroll them. This is huge. That's actually so good. I like to start with tank too. Tank is good to start. I think the right order for this is DPS, then tank, then no, it's probably tank first, to be honest. Those are 3 different ones, right? Do not share a class. And there we go. Yo! Wow. That is so good. These are also good. You do want to be holding your graces. Special item. Let's try some items in the future. I think we can make it to the future. I think we can get through 2 combats here. We're gonna keep it on the tanks though. The reason you start with the tank is because this quest is like the real killer, run killer overall. And obviously, you know, if your team is dying, the problem is you don't have a good enough tank. And so we want to have our tank be strong for as much of the run as we can. Although we're going sort of tankless here. But that's fine. We're doing the mystic stacking stuff. I mean, that's gonna be pretty good. So now we want to go for DPS, right? The same idea is that, you know, the challenges come later. And so we want to nerf our important units early so that they can come in and handle the difficulty for us at the end. But of course, it can be a bit of a challenge right now, you know, as we see. This is okay though. This is when we want to use our rewind on the challenge here so we can win it. And it's just kind of an efficient time to use it because we can reset it here and have it for later. That was pretty good. We might have to not do this for this fight. This is like perfect item. So I'll buy that. It's gonna be good. The rest of the stuff we can't really afford to be doing. I do think you kind of have to do it. I think it's like this. No backup here, so we can just get rid of her, I think. This is what we have to do. We can do like that. And this. Nope. We do not hit. Damn. Damn. That's okay. As you can see, this shit is so fucking hard. Yeah. The people are getting like 11, 12 streaks. And they obviously understand a lot because they played it more. But you also, you know. You just keep grinding till you hit more than once in a row. Maybe that will happen to us next time. Next time. But that was fun. We got a win. We got a dub. Which is huge. That is absolutely enormous. But for now, let's do some Chainsaw Man yapping. Oh yeah. It's been a while. I've been ruminating, you know. I've been ruminating, you know. ruminating on Chainsaw Man. That's right, folks. We got the Garfield pants on to talk about Chainsaw Man. I feel like if you know, you know on that one. I am gonna mute the voice here on this recording. Just so it doesn't get too distracting during the recording. Like a loop on this. Repeat. Here we go. And if I want to, I can do this. And I also want text. Red text. Secret Dots Classic. Select the font. That was cool. Give me a nice 72 points. Color. Bam. Bam. Don't you anti-alias my stuff. Give me those dirty corners there. Part of the aesthetic. Outline. Drop shadow, which is like an outline for fancy folks. Let's drop shadow, you know what I mean? I feel like that's very word art aesthetic. Which is in, you know? The 90s are in, you know? Kid pics? Any kid pics enjoyers? Oh, damn. Back when computers were good. No, they were still evil. We're talking about Chainsaw Man again. After all this time. After all this time. Where did my live go? What? How long does it last? Go live. Go live for 4 hours or whatever. Boom. Getting down into it on the stream. Let's pull it up for the stream. Getting into Chainsaw Man yap time on the stream. Stop in to chat about the thoughts now that time since the ending. And I'll post this. Chainsaw Man is about sex. This is the long conclusion of my This is the short version of my long-winded conclusion, which we'll be presenting over the course of these streams from here on out. What the hell is this fucking story even about? You know what I mean? That's really where we were left with that ending. What an ending. Oh my god, what's wrong with this guy? I wish Doofy was still here. I would love to hear his thoughts about the ending. Love to hear his thoughts. Maybe he'll come back around. But for now, we're going to talk about my thoughts. My thoughts on the Chainsaw Man ending. As you can see, main points that Chainsaw Man is about sex. That's what it's about. You know, it all clicked when I was thinking about Bolero. Actually, I was thinking about Bolero for this set that we're listening to now, this music set that we're listening to now that I play. There's a section where we do a very slow crescendo, repeating the same musical theme over and over again, which is Bolero. That is Bolero by Ravel, the classical music piece, which follows that structure. It is just one long crescendo. And that that piece, you know, is engaged very directly with the idea of the crescendo, the idea of the musical climax. And in Ravel's own words, well, it's about having an orgasm. It's about sex. So that's what it's about. This piece that is structured around the rising tension that is at the heart of all artistic forms, that is about sex. It is about having sex. It's about sex. And thinking about that, as I was working on this music thing, I was like, oh wait, narrative climax in a story is the same thing, you know? It's about sex. And then it all made sense. And he's good. This guy's good. Because it works perfectly. It's exactly in line. Like he understands stories, you know? So let's work through that understanding. What makes it about sex overall, right? Because I think everybody would know that, like, sexuality is a part of the storytelling here. Denji wants to have sex, you know. There's also like sexual manipulation and abuse. It's certainly a topic in the story. But I'm basically saying that the whole thing, the story structure, the narrative arc, the characters, all the different themes, what are they rooted in? A discussion of sex. And, you know, there's a lot to go through with it. But let's start with the reasons why I think this is true about Chainsaw Man. And it'll come back to the Bolero discussion. The idea of the tension and release structure that drives, artistic medium is that is directly connected to sex. But we'll come back to that. For now, let's talk about Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man, I know a lot of people would say it's not actually about sex, it's about intimacy. Because what Denji really wants isn't sex, it's intimacy. Right? It's actually about like familial connection. Right? And one of the strongest points towards that is that in chapter 1, at the very beginning, Denji's talking about his dream. And in chapter 1, in the English translation, Denji's talking about, I want to hug a girl. He wants to hug his girlfriend, you know what I mean? I think he says he wants to make out with her too. He wants a girlfriend, you know, he wants to do what he imagines you do with a girlfriend. Damn. Ain't that the truth, Denji? Ain't that the goddamn truth? And then at the end of the chapter, Makima hugs him, which is, a symmetry there. He gets a hug, and then he's like, wow, it's like a dream, you know? Right, and that is a great translation. That is a good translation. But here's my first point. If I can. Hello? I'm moving. There we go. The chapter 1 translation is kind of scuffed. It is, not wrong. It's a great translation, but it is working against a really tricky writing that actually sets the whole discussion of the entire story. This guy's good, man. I can't. So in chapter 1, Denji is talking about wanting a hug in English. The Japanese verb is daku there, to hug. And I just want to make sure that I'm that I'm 100% accurate here. This is something, you know, we're gonna do on the live stream. We'll edit it out for the video version. Jump Plus, there it is. There we go. So it went down for a second. Internet here is a bit spotty. Alright. Anyway. let's go here to chapter 1. Let's look at the Japanese. I just want to be 100% sure I'm not spreading misinformation. Yes. He is confirmed. Get the red text back out. Chapter 1 translation is kind of scoffed. When Denji says, I at least want to hug a girl before I die. In Japanese, he is using the verb daku. So here we go. So we've checked it. It's true. Let's get into it. The chapter 1 translation is kind of scuffed here. Not really wrong. I actually think hug is the correct translation. He's using the verb daku. Now daku, like most words in Japanese, has multiple meanings. Word with multiple meanings. Right? That is a word with multiple meanings. This is true of most words in Japanese. It's high context language. So each individual word can have a lot of different ways to interpret it, but then because of the context, it can be clarified. Or not clarified, which is also a very interesting possibility. Alright, one meaning is hug. And this is, I guess, what you'd call the literal meaning. Right? If you hug somebody, use this verb, you say daku. If a mother's holding a child, that's daku. Right? You can conjugate it in different ways. You can do conjunction, verb conjunction structures, all the Japanese ones of those that exist. You know, dakishimeru is like to tightly hold. That's starting with daku. The daku becomes dakishimeru. Okay. It is a very common word, and it has, because it is so common, it also has a euphemistic meaning. What is the euphemistic meaning? Well, if you've been paying attention, you may have some idea. It is similar to sleep with, pretty much, in that it is a euphemism, but it's not really a euphemism. It does have the euphemistic meaning of having sex. But it's not really a euphemism. There's no, if Denji is talking about having sex in the very first chapter, in that climactic moment where he's talking about the dream he wants to have before he dies. That very first dream when he's talking to Pochita. English version says hug. Japanese version says hug, yes, which is paralleled at the end, which is a part of the story, which is Pochita's dream at the end of part 1. But at the end of part 1, what does Denji want? Yeah? What is Denji really after? Through the entire story, at the end of the world, what is Denji after? Is he trying to get a hug? He is not. When he is relentlessly pursuing his dream, his goal, towards the apocalypse of the entire world, what is he after? Not a hug. Not a hug. And so going back to chapter 1, in the original text, only, by the way, because, you know, I'm saying it's kind of scuffed here, but like, hug is the right translation. Even if it misses. This is important. Subtext in the original language. This is just a thing that you kind of have to... L's you have to hold, right? In translation. You know? There's no way around this. Our words... The way words work in English, they don't really do this, you know? Like if Denji was saying, I want to sleep with a girl, that would be a euphemism, but also there's no ambiguity in the language there. You don't say, I want to sleep with somebody, and then people are like, well, do they mean sleep next to them? No, that's not how the language works. But the way that Denji's sentence is phrased, it could go either way. And in the story, it does go either way. It does go either way. And that's very interesting. That's really... cool. If you think about it, this ambiguity, the fuzzy boundary between intimacy, the hug, and sex, that's kind of the whole fucking story, right? That's kind of what he's working through in the entire book. That is Denji's struggle through the whole story, through the end, where he tragically fails and the entire world is consumed by bugs. Fucking sex destroys humanity, you know? Because it's about sex. So, thinking through this sort of close reading of the phrasing in chapter 1, that really solidified to me that, oh, this is the whole story. This is a take on a character confronting sex and sexuality. And the story is looking at what sex and sexuality means for the world. Mind is something they can't really convey when translating English. I mean, this is exactly an example of that. By the way, like every word in Japanese is like this to some degree. Not all of them, but the more common the word is, the more common the word is. Oh yes, well, Denji is all katakana and hiragana because he can't read. So it doesn't really make sense for his voice to come out in characters that he can't fucking read. Because he's not thinking that. He's not thinking about those at all. Poor guy, man. This fucking kid, dude. That's a whole other thing. But, yes. It is very similar to that. You know, Fujimoto is just like a devil with his dialogue writing, the details of all of the character choices and word choices like this one. I mean, this is huge, right? This is huge for the story, and it's one word that is just like plops it in there and it just does everything he needs it to do. He's fucked up. He's good. This Fujimoto he might be kind of good, you know. And you may hate on part 2, although hopefully I can get it through your head today. But this is part 1. Goated. And it is fucking cracked from the very first chapter. Insane. Insanity, this stuff. It was really good, but okay. The start of the story was sex. The end of the story was sex. Through the middle, Denji was going after sex. That's just what the story's about. At the end of the day, this is just even what the fucking plot is, alright? This is the plot. What is the fucking plot of the story? What is the plot of the story about? Literally, it's sex. Woo! Of course, Chainsaw Man is bouncing. Right, so if you do this slight reinterpretation of chapter 1 through the original language, which again is not hating on the translator at all, she made the right choice. It should be hug because Makima shows up and gives Denji a hug, and that like immediate parallelism in the writing is, you know, what you're gonna translate towards. If you don't do it, then that first chapter just, you know, you're missing this whole thing that he's doing there. So you need to say hug for what he did in the writing in the chapter to make sense to the English reading audience. But he's also did something else, and that really only becomes clear that was important ambiguity later on in the story. So there's no way for her to know that you need to do this ambiguity. You can't do it anyway. There's no word to pick in English or like phrasing you can do. I don't know. Maybe you can puzzle it together. What's your... There's no way to go between hug and sex. We differentiate those things very strongly in English. There's no border term. Embrace a woman. Benji is not going to be saying embrace a woman. Yeah. Which also, still, it doesn't mean had sex. It can be maybe a little euphemistic, but not really. We just don't have a word like that. There's just really nothing to do about it, and it needs to be one word because it's like the whole thing. Whatever. She did the right choice, but there's just something missing regardless. And it turns out to be kind of a big thing. And what is that big thing? Sex. Sex was missing. Y'all were reading it thinking about sex. You should have been gooned up the whole time, because that's what the goddamn story's about. Folks, it's a gooner manga. Okay. So a little bit about the first chapter and Denji's ultimate dream, and if you think about that now and how the story ends, it actually makes a lot more sense. You know what I mean? It actually makes an No, the book is good. The book is fucking good. You can't write an ending like that and have it be good, man. You're sick. You can't do bad as good. Everybody hates that these days. It's not true, by the way. Brief aside. Let's change the color for an aside. Even though red is kind of good for this. But let's do yellow here. Yellow. Aside. Bad is good. It was already good. Aside. Bad is good. It was already good. Small diatribe. Listen to the music that I make right now. It's got all these like crazy effects, feedback, static, noise, walls, that kind of stuff. That's all very normal in music these days. You've heard it in Kendrick Lamar, you've heard it in Charlie XCX, you've heard it in 100 Gex, you've heard it in... I feel like it's all over hip-hop these days. You know, Death Grips really brought it in maybe the hardest to the genre. But, you know, it was already around in like Chopped and Screwed stuff. These bad sounds, these noisy sounds, noise music sounds, they already won. They're all, it's popular. It is good. These are objectively bad sounds. These are painful experiences to have in a song. It hurts your ears to listen to these sounds. But the music is good. The sounds may hurt, but the music is good. Bad can be good. And you know that that's right, because that's literally what's happening in popular culture now. Including Chainsaw Man. So get over yourself. If you don't understand like what's going on with like freaked out art right now, I don't know, you're actually just not paying attention to anything. Manga readers who are unaware of the broader context of media, never. I've never. It can't be. No way. Anyway. Bad is good. Which is what he did. What a fucker. Fucking, but noise music manga. Noise music ass manga. Well, no one's gonna like that, dude. They're gonna be like, this hurts my eyes. Yeah. Yes. Speaking of hurting, let's talk more about sex. Next thing to discuss, Chainsaw Man being about sex. The erotic structure of art. Where's Doofy? I feel like he would be all over this. Now, I want to say, the philosophy I'm going through here, from here on out, which is a philosophy of art discussion, is not unique. I didn't make this up. I didn't come up with it. Like I said, I referenced Ravel talking about Bolero at the beginning of the stream. Right? Many artists have considered such things. And the theory here is actually ancient. Alright? This is going to be a complicated one. This is going to be a little complicated. But it does all fit together. And it's Chainsaw Man. We'll go through it. But this basic thesis of the argument is that art is instinctually structured around the cadence of an orgasm. That is not a metaphorical orgasm, that is a literal orgasm. And if you're like, oh no, I'm feeling awkward, well, this is the stream where we're talking about how Chainsaw Man is about sex. So it is what it is. If you want to get off the ride now, you don't gotta stick around. Feel free. Feel free. But this is, again, not my idea. Not an original Dub's thought. This is a well-known theory of art and artistic structure. So why? Why would you think this? Why would you suppose that all art is trying to make you come? It's all porn in the end, basically, is the idea. You know, porn is art, art is porn. Basically. Why would you think this? Well, let's talk about Eros. Let's talk a little about Eros. Let's talk about the origin of the idea of erotic things. Right? Because nowadays, you talk about erotic, it's porn, right? It's gooned up, you know. You're trying to get to work when you sit down with some erotic fiction. Because nowadays it just means sex. It means sexual in nature. But the origin of Eros and the origin of the idea of eroticism in art is this ancient Greek concept of eros, which you might call material pleasures these days. So, of course, sex is one of those material acts that you do that feels good. But so is hearing a pleasant song, reading an interesting story, watching a good movie. These are all experiences, material experiences, and then, you know, you have this erotic response, your erotic sense response. So if it's a tasty food, you feel good, and if it's a gross food, you feel bad. That good, bad feeling, right? That is eros, the emotional valence of your material experiences that the Greeks identified as one thing. So, food tasting good, music sounding good, sex feeling good, a beautiful painting looking good. These are all material pleasures, right? These are all one thing. That is eros within you encountering the world. That is the eros of the world you're experiencing. Actually, they thought it wasn't a psychological thing. They thought it was in the music. You know, the music had the eros in there, and you were, you know, the music was already sexy. You're just coming across it, you know, platonic kind of. Nowadays, we call it psychological, right? The eros is in you. But that emotional valence, that aesthetic valence of like experience, of like this is a good material experience, this is a bad material experience. That was a good movie, that was a bad movie. That was a good meal, that was a bad meal. That valence is the eros, is the erotic experience, right? It's not the specific thing itself, it's not which sandwich you ate or whatever, it is the fact that you ate a sandwich and you felt it was good. That was the eros there, connecting with you. So from this perspective, all art is erotic, right? Because when you look at a piece of artwork, you feel it's good or bad, right? when you make a artistic thing, that is a material experience that you have crafted for an audience to have. And so they are having that erotic experience. You have crafted an eros for them to interact with, and they will either feel good about it or they will feel bad about it. And there's a lot more to the ancient Greek theory of art. They didn't think it was only eros. There were other aspects to it, the logos and the pathos and such. But at a base level, the art object is like an erotic thing. That eros, that erotic encounter with the thing, the material encounter is erotic. All right, and within erotic experiences, you know, the kind of things you can encounter that give you that good or bad feeling, which in theory can be everything, of course, but within that landscape of experiencing material stuff and feeling some kind of way about it, there's one material experience that really feels some kind of way, which is sex is kind of ultimate. Right? Again, in like the philosophical sense. Now, it is like the one. It's the one. There is. Now, at this point in ancient Greek art philosophy, we're kind of done with eros, and it gets combined with all these other things, like I mentioned, to really describe all the different dimensions of artistic creativity and such and such. But if you take this forward to the 20th century, when people are getting very modernist, or people are getting very Freudian, you combine this understanding of like art as an erotic object with this new understanding of the role of sex in human psychology, right? You know, evolutionary perspective, narrowly, the sex drive is, well, it's instinctual. That is known. So it's inherent. You just have one. The level, notwithstanding, right? Of course, people can be asexual and such. There's variance there. But whatever the level is for you, you got one. You know, whatever the specifics of it are, that depends person to person. But it being there or not, well, some would opt out if they could. But unfortunately, we have to negotiate one way or another. I don't know if there's any like medication or something. I think there are medications that lower your sex drive. I wonder if anybody's like, I'm not trying to deal with all that complicated shit. Give me some stuff with anti-sex side effects. Get me out. I'm done here. Okay. Yeah. Fair is fair. But regardless, in a broad sense, regardless of individual specifics, in a broad sense, human society, you know, people existing, is dependent, at least this far in human existence, is dependent on sexual intercourse. And it does seem to be pretty popular amongst human beings. I can't lie. It is a survival instinct. So, in the evolutionary sense, You have the individual survival instinct, which is like fight or flight, but then you have the species-wide survival instinct, which is reproduction, right? So the fight or flight takes care of you surviving, and the sexual drive takes care of the species surviving. So for species that reproduce sexually, their survival comes from these two instinctual drives. So it's as fundamental as not wanting to die, in kind of the inverse perspective. You know, running to survive is like you living. Having sex and reproducing is the species living. And so the existence of your species, if you are a sexually reproducing species, depends on this sex drive. It depends on sex. Okay, now we're talking about art here. This means the psychology of sexual experience, of having sex. Again, this is not my idea. You may disagree, but whether you disagree with this or not, I think this connection between sex and, well, we'll see, is there in Chainsaw Man, not even necessarily intentionally, just as a fact of how the story discusses sex and the identifications that Fujima defines there in terms of story structure, which is what we're getting into here. The psychology of sexual experience is fundamental in human existence. Right? And this is this is just Freudian basics, right? Freud thinking about this stuff. First there's Darwin, and then Freud takes if we are animals who evolved sexually, well then clearly sex is going to be at the heart of our psychology, was his point. And, he was right some things, he was wrong some things. Classic psychologist, Just hard to do psychological experiments. It is. Okay, where are we here? The psychology of human experience is fundamental. Okay. That means, basically, you are driven to go have sex. It's a bit vulgar, but pretty much. Pretty much this. The eros of an orgasm is built into your brain, right? You aren't driven to go, do this stuff, have orgasms. You aren't driven by some rational decision. You aren't like, what would it be? It makes a lot of sense to do right now. Go bust. You know what I mean? I'm gooning now. It's just in there, and it comes from. It's just a condition of your existence. You existing is conditional on somebody being driven to have sex at some point. So it is simply just an aspect of human nature, of the human condition. It is some kind of negotiation. Everybody's relationship with this thing can be different, which again, that's kind of a newer idea. But everybody's relationship with these, this fact of your psychology is different, and you can feel different ways about it, and you can, have different intensities around these facts, but they're there. The Eros is built into your brain, and it is important to your brain, right? Going out there and busting in your animal mind, in your psychology as a primate on the planet, you have that in there. You want to have the experience of busting. Now, how does that feel like? Why? Oh, this. Okay. How does that feel like? Let me pull up the paint. Drawing. Simple drawing. Nope. Simple drawing utility. I'm on a Linux rig now. Oh, first time back streaming, getting everything set up again. It's okay though, this is all for a video. Ooh, we'll fix it in post. And we will. Paint. There we go. How does it look like? You know, I mean, what is the emotional valence of bustin'? Bustin' makes me feel good. They were not kidding. They weren't kidding. What's it like? What's it feel like? It feels like this. Whoa. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, oh shit. Oh yeah. Oh my god. Oh, here I go. Bow. And then you're here at the end. You're like, what the heck? What am I doing, bro? Like, God, what am I doing in my life? You know? That's when you start getting into the dark place. That's when you start having the ideas. Sage mode, as they call it. This is sage mode. Here at the end. Sage time right there. Kenja time. Right. This is the emotional arc of an orgasm. You might call this the erotic arc. You might call it the erotic arc. Right, again, because Eros is this whole thing of like responding to material experiences. How do you feel? What are the emotions within you prompted by your material experience? Well, if you're bustin', here it is. And bustin' is like the most fundamental way to have this kind of experience. It is a version of the erotic that is baked into our survival as a species and our will to live as individuals. It's a survival instinct. Now, if you know anything about maybe music, maybe illustration, storytelling, right? You might recognize this structure. Right, for stories, this is like your establishment and your introductions, and you're building the narrative tension, and now you've got like some mysteries, unknowns, storylines going. Then you're building to the climax of the narrative arc that you're in, and everything's coming together. Now it's time for the denouement, you know? Now it's time to cool off after all that excitement so we can get back into it, or maybe the story's just fucking over after that. Right? If you've ever heard anybody talk about writing stories, you've seen this structure before. You can go watch Brandon Sanderson talk about it. You can listen to anybody talk about it. I mean, you probably intuitively know it, that this is how stories work. You know, there's the introduction. First the story starts and some stuff's getting introduced, and then everything exciting gets more exciting and interesting, and then the story's over. Okay, right? But hey, look at that. That's the erotic arc. It's right there. You thought you were reading a story. No. You were gooning. You're a gooner. It's all gooning. Life is gooning. At least art is gooning. That's actually genuinely what like Plato thought. He thought art was gooner shit, and that we should all be doing philosophy instead. None of these gooner eroticism. We need Chad Logos to relate to the Platonic forms, to escape the cave. He thought this shit was the cave, and that math was fake, was the real shit. What a loser, man. What a nerd. This is the real shit. The math is the cave, man. Anyway. If you know about music, of course, it's the same thing. You know, you build up the musical tension to the eventual climactic moment, and then the song ends. You know, just, you can literally think of any pop song and they all work like this. 100% of them. It's actually 100% in pop music, I will say. Doesn't matter how noisy you are, doesn't matter what genre you're in, does not matter what, you know, what you're trying to do. If you are trying to make a popular song, it's this. And if you made a popular song, more than likely it's this. Sometimes something more out will kind of pop off a little bit. But even usually then, the person is building back towards this structure because it's a really popular structure for a work of art. Why is it so popular? Well, because everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. They don't even have to learn it. They already understand this erotic structure. They know that this is a good arc for some Eros. This is what you want, how you want Eros to go. And why do you want to go it that way? Because you're human. Because you're just a human being. You're just a human being, and just like everybody else, the valence, the emotional valence of your erotic sense is instinctually crafted around this erotic arc. The erotic arc of sexual reproduction. That we all know and love, hate it, you know, have different relationships with, have different feelings about, and different experiences of. But one thing remains the same. Everybody's trying to bust all the time. And that's why art is the way it is, according to this perspective. You know, this is not the only artistic theory that exists. I wouldn't even say it's complete, right? Because this is popular, and this theory explains like why this structure shows up so much everywhere. It even shows up in illustration, although it's a bit more subtle to kind of extract it, and you can argue there that maybe you're forcing it in the theory. Certainly for stories and music, this is unquestionable. You know, there's not even like sources for this idea. It's so ancient and inherent to how humanity has always done it that, I mean, that's the reason people wondered about this stuff, because it seems so intrinsic, you know. But there's nothing intrinsic. Art does not have to look like this. You can make art that looks all sort of ways. Right? This is the erotic arc that defines humans' experience of reproduction. But art is creative, you know? Art is not actually busting. The fact that this erotic structure is popular can be summarized in the old adage, sex sells. Sex sells. So this is popular. But anything is possible, you know? You can have like this. You could have a story that goes like that. You know? You could try all sorts of stuff. That one wouldn't really work, but... There's no actual limitations on the erotic structure of a work of art. There is just one erotic structure that works really well. Because everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. Kind of. It's quite popular. It is the popular form. For illustration, I think of it as like the eye guiding principles. You know, like the things where you get the eye to follow a line in your painting. Well, how do you do that? Well, you put like some calm stuff over here, and then it gets more interesting, you know? It gets more interesting as you follow the composition. It goes to the more, and oh, you get to the interesting stuff. Wow. And then you look at the whole painting and you take the whole thing in. And, you know, you don't have as much direct control over sort of the temporality of it when you're illustrating, which is why it's a lot more arguable in that sense as whether it is really this erotic arc. But I think, you know, illustrators think on it. I think it is. I think it makes sense to think of it that way, right? Like going from the lower intensity to the higher intensity places, that natural following, going from low to high, and like leading the eye along that path naturally until you get the whole picture, and then you sort of process it and you're done looking at it. I think that's right. I think that makes sense. But I think it's arguable. If you don't think so, I wouldn't press it per se. Okay. So, we seem to have gotten very far away from Chainsaw Man. But, we're gonna get back to it. Right? Okay. This is a classic. This is a Dove-style classic stream. Call it this. Denji's. Okay. So now we're getting back to the fact that Chainsaw Man is about sex. I just went on all of that discussion to talk about this erotic arc, right? This erotic arc that is at the heart of artistic structures, narrative structures, musical structures, the structure, you know, composition and illustration, all this kind of stuff. All of that is formed around this erotic arc. But Denji, the character in the story, engages within the text with this erotic cycle. Let's talk about it. How does it work? Establishment. Right? Bam. Touch. Tits. Yeah? You remember that? Infamous scene. Denji wants to touch tits. Here we've got the power arc. Arc. Alright. Computer locked up there for a second. Not really sure what's going on there. Back to it. Fix it in post. Alright, we're talking about Denji's relationship with the erotic arc. Here he wants to touch tits. Here he has the arc where he meets power. Here's the climax. Here's the fight, you know. The fight with the Bat Devil and the Leash Devil. That first fight of the Bat Devil arc. And then here is touching. This is Denji's experience of trying to touch tits, right? He is trying to touch Power's tits. And this is his emotional valence. Denji's eros through the story. And the fact that the actual achievement happens down here in the denouement, where it's not that exciting. That was a really important point of the story. This arc of the climax being better than the actual achievement, the struggle being more exciting, more climactic than the actual fulfillment of the dream. That's the whole goddamn story. Right? That's what it's all about. He's chasing after this, he's chasing after that, he's chasing after this. Right? And he keeps chasing, and every time he gets one thing, it's just not quite satisfying, you know? Going after it was so exciting. But then having it, you know, going after it so exciting, having it, you know, it's just not the same. It's just not what you thought. It's not what you imagined. You imagine that the achievement will be up here. But this is the struggle. This is the suffering. This is the success. Fujimoto, are you okay? Tatsuki Fujimoto, are you good? I think this guy's depressed, man. But I mean, this isn't have to be his experience. That's all parasocial, right? This idea is philosophically how Buddhism is, right? Kind of Buddhist perspective, not quite. They don't go in for the whole like Freudian instinct stuff. just kind of different time periods, but you can't combine it like this. Where, you know, you never get the satisfaction by chasing after your desires. You just are stuck in this cycle of chasing and disappointment, chasing and disappointment, chasing and disappointment. Samsara, the infinite cycle. Unbounded illusion. Okay. This structure, the erotic arc, is in the story. Denji engages with it in the text. You don't have to do any subtextual reading. You don't have to, notice the structural similarities. You don't have to peel this meaning out of the story. No. Denji talks about it. It happens to him. He is engaging with this idea directly. And how does he engage with it? For Denji, the erotic cycle is a trap. Is a literal trap. Literally a trap set by Maki. Again, we're not doing extrapolation here. We're not doing interpretation here. This is what happens in the story. Makima sets up these traps of his goals, his desires, giving him what he wants again and again and again. But because he's never satisfied by the cycle, she can keep doing it forever. She just keeps dangling the next thing in front of him, having him chase after it. Well, what's your next dream, Denji? And if you think about it, in that regard, Denji was just as trapped by Pochita as he was by Maki. Damn. Especially if you think about Denji's very first dream actually being sex, and then he's chasing after that past the end of humanity, ignoring the apocalypse, chasing after his dream because that's the contract, That's the deal. That's the deal. Right? So, this right now, I don't think is arguable. You cannot say this is wrong about the text. Because literally, this is just what happens. This is just a diagram of the arc. This is a diagram of Denji's excitement and disappointment. His erotic arc through the story. And that erotic arc is a trap that Makima laid to trap him and destroy him, which he did with his trap. Okay. Now then part one. So part one's, here we go. Part one's story structure aligns with the erotic cycle. Okay? Okay. Which again is this thing. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna introduce the narrative term. So I'm talking about this erotic arc generally, but for narrative storytelling and storytelling, this is called catharsis. Also, a also an ancient Greek philosophy term, catharsis. They were really cooking back then, huh? They were really cooking up some ideas. They were really having a chat. So a narrative, because we're specifically talking about a story here, we can call it what you would call it with narrative, which is catharsis. This rising action, you know, the rising action denouement, climax, architecture is cathartic, and the feeling of that it causes with you is catharsis. So from that perspective, like the orgasm is one form of catharsis, and then there's all this other, you know, and then a good story has this kind of catharsis, and a good song has this kind of catharsis, and a good picture has this kind of catharsis, and everything has a good catharsis, and the point of art is catharsis, which that's what Aristotle thought. Aristotle thought that catharsis was good, and that's the whole point. The point's to get the lead out, you know, busting, but imaginary, so you don't gotta bust all over everybody, you know? Pretty much the idea. And with part one, right? Part one, do some undoing here. Let's call this catharsis. I'm just gonna say cath, so you see my my paint writing skills are so good. This cathartic arc is how part one works. Because part one is a normal shonen. So for normal shonen, all follow this arc. If it's in Jump, it is this. And that's not, again, not my interpretation. They make you do it. It is a requirement to be in the magazine. The editors will sit you down and be like, this is how Jump stories are. And it's this. It's even more specific than this. Like, it's detailed. Like, this beginning has to be like, you know, introducing the protagonist. And then this has to be like building up the villain, and then this part is a battle, specifically has to be a fight, and then, you know, this part there's actually a little bit of room for creativity. It's kind of where the real sauce is. If you really know how stories work, the denouement is where it all really happens. That's actually that's the sauce. And that's what separates the mid from the peak, basically. Right? Because, you know, Fujimoto was in Jump and he wanted to do a normal Jump story. Well, he has to do a normal Jump story. Again, they literally won't let you not do it. That's all WSJ stories do. Are required to. Even. It is actually it is an editorial requirement. That if your story is in Weekly Shonen Jump, it is like this. And so, when Chainsaw Man was in Weekly Shonen Jump, it looked like this. And so Denji was having this emotional conversation with the cathartic cycle in the universe of the story, right? He was engaged with the cathartic cycle of his life, chasing after satisfaction in his life, chasing after climaxes in his life, trying to bust, wanting to do it. To do what? And there it is, folks. He wants to have sex. Which, of course, we all do. It's all anyone ever does. It's the heart and soul of this thing, this arc, this structure, which is all shonen. And every shonen hero is trapped in this cycle because he is a shonen hero. Because that's what heroes do. This is being Chainsaw Man. This is being the shonen protagonist. The shonen protagonist is after sex because he has to be about sex. He's required to be about sex because all art is about sex when it's cathartic. And for Weekly Shonen Jump, you have to be cathartic or you aren't in the book. You know, I heard useless dogs get killed, right? Yeah. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling it? Chainsaw Man is about sex. Oh yeah. But sex is fucking sex. That's so much. And so, there's a lot in the fucking book. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to say. And it connects with the structure of the story. And the structure of that story is connected to the text of the story. The text understands its structure. It engages with the fact that this is the structure of the story that Denji is in. That's the structure of the story. That's the structure of his life, his emotional experience. You know, that's what makes part 1 so peak. What about part 2, though? I hope you're convinced by that. I hope you're convinced by that, because that's real, by the way. That is interpretation. That could be wrong. But, like, is it wrong, though? Like, this is, again, this doesn't come from subtext. This comes from Denji literally talking about exactly this. And then Makima later being like, haha, I trapped you with this, you dumbass. You were locked in the cathartic cycle and I was setting up for disaster and now you're my dog. You're my hero. I made you into the hero. I made you the superhero. And what is the superhero? This is the superhero. The trap is the superhero. The trap is what makes you a hero. It's not empowering. It's confining. The hero is trapped. Trapped in what? Trapped in this. He has no choice but to do this. He must. He is required to. And, you know, through all of Denji's goals, what's his ultimate goal? Well, it's sex. And what's the ultimate catharsis? Well, it's sex. You know, like, it's just all there, you know, it all fits. This point where that is like a layer of interpretation, that is not quite in there explicitly, but like all the ingredients are. And if you know about this stuff, then you can see how the ingredients fit together, and this is how. This is interpretation. Seeing the ideas that the author comes out and says, hey, yo, check this out, you know? This was on my mind. And then you look at that and you think of how those ideas are all connected together, and then you interpret the fucking art. And you understand. You understand by thinking. You think with knowledge, and then you know. life. Okay, so part 1 was a straight-ahead shonen because you have to be a straight-ahead shonen. You are trapped in being a straight-ahead shonen, and trapped in being straight-ahead shonen was what the shonen that was trapped in being straight-ahead was about. Which is about sex. Because that's what stories are. Okay, but in part 2, the story structure negates the cathartic cycle. What's going on? There we go. And this is where part 2 is bad. But let's not forget, bad is good, right? Bad is good. But it's bad, right? It is an unpleasant narrative structure. It is, you know, you read it, you feel so like, ugh. And what is that story structure? It's not that hard to understand. I'll get the blue for part 2. You know, we're using blue for like the artistic possibilities of art. So how does it work? And part 2 is like this. You're going along. Ooh! And it's happening. Oh my god, excitement. Like this. There is a gap between the narrative that is written and the erotic expectation that is built in the cathartic cycle. Right? You, dear reader, if you read part 2, you probably have something that was on your mind, some story thread you were interested in. And how did that resolve? I bet you it felt like this. You were like all excited, it was all interesting, you were thinking about it, and then the resolution happened, and you were like, wait, what? Let's name this. What's the feeling here? The feeling of this gap is, wait, that's it? And for most Chainsaw Man fans, it goes so far as, there's no way that's it. So what's the effect here? Spawn delusion. Do you guys remember how delusional everyone was about the story? Making shit up all the time? Delulu. Right? The cope. No, it'll be interesting soon. Don't worry, guys. We're about to bust. Soon the goon will be over. We'll bust and we'll be free. No, the goon never ends. The goon never ends. Because when you get to the end, how do you feel? That's it. Right? Are you feeling it? That's it. When did that happen? Remember that arc with power? He's Denji trying to touch her tits. At the end, he does. And how does he feel? Denji feels like this. Denji feels the blue arc. That's Denji's experience. Getting to the climactic moment and being like, wait, that's it? For us, the climactic moment is the fight, you know? The fighting. Alright, we understand that Denji is missing the excitement. You know, he's misplaced his goal. He's expecting the excitement in the denouement, but no, the fight was the exciting thing. But of course, for a real person, a fight is not exciting. It is, you know, painful and unpleasant. So, for a shonen hero, in the story, the emotional arc of their experience is not, you know, an exciting climax. That's our catharsis. The red line is the reader's catharsis. We get the excitement and the fall, right? That's what happens in part 1. But from the perspective of the hero in the story, that's the blue line. You know, at least that's Denji's blue line. That's how Denji is. You know, every protagonist is the same. Every story is different. But for Denji, we specifically see this gap between the expected conclusion of a narrative arc that is a pursuit of a certain goal, that gap between the expectation and the reality, that gap between the expectation and what's really there, the gap between your expectation and what is actually on the page right in front of you. That's the fucking feeling. That's the fucking feeling. That's the feeling that the whole story is discussing. Do you see? Do you get it? Gamers, I'm afraid the ending of part 2 is really good. Not only is it good, it's really good. And all those moments in the story where you felt like, man, that can't be it. Surely there's something more exciting going on. That can't be it. That's it? That's it? Yeah. That's it. What a good book. And the thing is, the whole time, what was everybody saying about Denji when he has sex? Well, how's he gonna feel? He's gonna feel like this. And why will he feel like this? Because it's actually pretty normal to feel like that. Having sex, something you chase after, you idealize in your youth. As you are coming of age, as is the core topic of all shonen manga, because that's what shonen's all about. Growing up as a guy, being a young man, the conditions of a young man. What do young men want to do? They want to fuck. They chase after it like little idiots. They get red pilled and black pilled, and they become incels because of this fucking insane drive that comes from instinct, but also indoctrination and political structures and all this kind of stuff, all built on sex. It's all about sex. It's all about guys wanting to have sex. But then when they do, how do they feel? Be like, that's it. That's it. And so in part 1, we're in the trap. We're trapped. We are in the heroic cycle just like Denji is in the heroic cycle. But in part 2, we're negating the catharsis. We're structurally negating the cathartic endpoints of our narrative storytelling. The beginning is familiar, right? That's really actually important, because this is where it's truly genius level understanding of storytelling and the medium at large. Because the only way this works, the only way you can achieve consistently that feeling, this feeling, right? This is not a unique feeling. Many stories achieve this feeling just by being bad. Which is one way to do it. Right, they sort of establish a hodgepodge of expectations
And then the story just kind of ends, and it doesn't really go anywhere, and the excitement just kind of unwinds. I call this the Tokyo Revengers method. Just, there were a lot of things set up, and they kind of didn't go anywhere, and so, well, you just kind of feel like, wait, that's it? Like, what about all this stuff, man? There's all these expectations. But in Chainsaw Man, the that's it isn't leaving anything out. You know, for many people, they claim these are plot holes because they don't know what a plot hole is. But it feels like a plot hole. This can happen because of plot holes. Most of the time you encounter this feeling in a story, it is because of a plot hole. Because there's some narrative thread that gets dropped off and forgotten about, and there's the hole, right? But that wasn't happening in part 2. You know, people would be like, oh, there's so many plot holes. And you'd be like, well, what are the plot holes? And they would say something, you're like, well, that's not really a plot hole. That's just like not a satisfying conclusion to the arc. And that discussion happened so many times. That's when it became not, oh, he fell off, you know. It's one thing if it happens one time, and like one of the arcs is not the best. Then it's a bad arc, right? That arc wasn't the most exciting. But then it happens again. And then it happens again. And then it happens on the small scale and the large scale. And then it happens. This is how the entire story ends with one of these. This is the structure of the whole book, too. Right? But Asa comes in, recognizable, normal, you know? And we got the falling, you know, this is that kind of recognizable building of tension. Now it even continues here. I would even say we go out to like church. Right? And that, you know, that arc is like building up the tension and doing all this stuff. I think it's even a little bit longer than that, probably. I think I know where the divergence happens, but that's a little bold to claim that specifically, but come on. There is a very notable shift in gears at one point in the story. Infamous point where the whole tone of the entire thing changes. And you were building up this, and now it's here. And this is the apocalypse. This is that final downfall, destruction of humanity, things getting erased. Right? It's all just unraveling chapter after chapter. It's just a downward spiral straight down. And if you were waiting for the climax, you missed it. Or rather, you didn't. There is none. We're just gonna go down all the way. It's just one long denouement from here, folks. This is the end. This is the apocalypse. That's it. That's it, folks. Right? Asa, falling the church, the rising action, recognizable. Where is it going? And then the payoffs, or the not payoffs, start coming through. And it's just disaster after disaster after disaster. Narrative thread after narrative thread after narrative thread. All resolving in this structure. And the overall structure also resolving in this way. And each of those individual failures creates this long downward descent of the story into madness and nonsense and even more sex and delusion and confusion and anger. The audience is so angry because what the fuck, man? What do you mean that's it? That's not what you want. That's not what I want. I want a bust. Where's my catharsis? No. The catharsis is a trap. And freedom, it's just one long disappointment. Ouch. You know, it's a brutal kind of perspective. The guy, like I said, I think this guy's depressed, man. I don't think this guy's got a big, you know, he seems like a life take it or leave it kind of guy, you know. And manga's good though. You know, at least you can have catharsis in fiction. Because reality is like this. So he made his book real. He escaped the trap in part 1. And part 2, he lived his real life, facing the real disappointments and failing, and the world ended, and he died, and he didn't get to have sex, and he lost his balls, and he's got one eye, and he got no money, and Asa didn't even give him the time of day, really. Huge L, but life is an L. Doesn't matter, right? Because if he got it, if he didn't get it, it's not really catharsis. That's not really how it is. The pot of gold out of the end of the rainbow, that's just some fucking metal, bro. Ouch. That's tough. That's tough. That's rough stuff. But that is Chainsaw Man being all about sex. And I think, this really puts it together for me. Really puts together the whole thing. So let's talk about the whole thing. Even one last thing here. Damn, that video is so long. Maybe not. We'll talk about the macro structure some other time. Like I said, this is also how the whole story is structured. It all works the same way, which is also true of the normal shonen, right? Normal shonen are like little catharsis within catharsis within catharsis that's built into one big cathartic structure. And part 2 is the same kind of thing, but this is your core curve. Your core curve is set expectations and let those expectations down. Sorry, buddy. Not this time. But we'll talk about it on the next stream. On the next stream. The next time we sit down to yap about Chainsaw Man. And it'll be out in a video. Later that week, probably. That's what I'm going to try and do. Once or twice a week. Sit down. Do a stream like this. Yap about Chainsaw Man. You know, do it my way. Then go through the VOD and cut it up into a nicer video to get through it. That's what we're gonna try and do. That's gonna be our pipeline, so stick around here for an incoming YouTube video version of this. It'll be shorter and less repetitive, hopefully, and less rambly and more focused when I get through editing this stuff. There's about a couple hours of it to get down through, but I know what I'm looking for, so it shouldn't be too bad. That's for me to deal with. You don't care about any of that. Thanks to both of my my friends who came through for a discussion. Shout out to Left Brain, Right Brain, YouTube for popping in and commenting. Shout out to my name is Doofy, the real OG, the one with the gun. That is Chainsaw Man. That was the stream. We had fun. We got a dub on the Guildrun. We did the Chainsaw Man analysis. Good stream, good stream. If you are watching the VOD or whatever, thanks for coming by.